This is the After Party, live with Kim McAllister. Pick a couch, grab a drink, and settle into the conversation.
Welcome aboard. It is the After Party live on Tuesday. It feels weird to be saying Tuesday because it's still the beginning of the week to me. But yeah, the show was dark yesterday and it felt weird not to be here doing that show. But I'm glad that you've made it back and that we've all made it back to the After Party live, a place where we can take a collective deep breath, brush off the ugly politics that we talked about last hour and the nasty goings on in the world, and just kind of hang out together. I do want to thank some folks that have come forward to help fund this show, this crowd-funded show. Again, today, Wes with $5 via the PayPal link that is located in the show description and in the About tab. Wes, thank you for the $5. Really appreciate it. A recurring payment where Lee has set it up to go every month, $30. And I really appreciate it. Lee, by the way, listens to the podcast and doesn't watch the show with video, but listens to the recorded version via different podcast platforms. I was wondering whether I should still do that, because I don't know how many people, this show is very photo intensive, and I don't know how many people listen to the podcast. So if you're a listener of the podcast and you want me to keep doing only the audio version on various podcast platforms, please let me know. I'm trying to make a decision whether to keep doing that or not. But thank you for the contribution. And if it means a lot to you, I'll keep doing it. Vivian, thank you for the monthly contribution, $5. Ricky F for 10, Jennifer L for 10. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. A lot of stories to get to today. And I'm probably, I would think, going to get demonetized because I have some videos to play for you that are local newscasts, and it seems like that's when I always get demonetized. But I think if I play them all on the same day, it might actually be worth it, because some of these stories are, I think they're pretty interesting, and it might be worth just going for it. All right. First story that I wanted to bring to your attention is this one, and it's about this CRISPR technology that is being used to make this spider, this red silk weaving spider. Glowing red silk the spider emits. It's also, though, been gene edited not to have any eyes, so it can't see. It's blind, but it spews this glowing red silk. Yeah, there's the spider. This story saddens me in a way, but this is an interesting scientific story as well. It is the first ever CRISPR modified spider. Of course, CRISPR is this gene editing tool. It has revolutionized biology. The inventors behind CRISPR won the Nobel Prize. It can snip out parts of genomes and insert other genes instead. The technology has been used to help cure different diseases, and headway is still being made on that front. It's been used to find out more about our genes and biological processes, and it's been used to kind of, as we learn more about it, tamper and alter these creatures that are at the very, I don't know if you want to say bottom of the food chain, but they're smaller creatures where we can more easily mess with them, right? Yeah. They did it with creating red-eyed wasps. Scientists also created a malaria-resistant mosquito. That has merit, right? And now we've made this spider that has red glowing web, silk. They looked at this spider as a target. They say spider silk is incredibly strong, scientifically interesting substance. It's 5 times stronger than a steel cable of the same weight. It's tear resistant. It's biodegradable. It's lightweight. It's elastic. So there's a lot of things to like about spider web silk or spider silk. So to genetically modify this spider, developed an injection solution with this gene editing system that also included a red fluorescent protein gene sequence. They injected it into the oocytes, or basically the spider's egg sac, ovaries, in unfertilized female spiders. When these spiders mated with males, then it resulted in the genetically modified offspring. The fluorescent gene inserts, like the red fluorescent protein, are often inserted into these experimental organisms because it's an easy thing to see. It's an indicator of whether it worked or not. So this silk glows under a certain light, and if they see that, then they know they successfully genetically modified this creature and that it worked and it was a success. The researchers say, we have demonstrated for the first time worldwide that CRISPR can be used to incorporate a desired sequence into spider silk proteins, enabling the functionalization of these silk fibers. The study and the work done by the University of Beirut, they say the ability to apply CRISPR gene editing to spider silk is promising for material science research and could be used to further increase already high tensile strength of spider silk. Yeah, okay. They published the study in Angewandte Chemie, which is a foreign publication. Uh, I don't know. I I can't get over, and maybe this is me, dragging my heels in the name of scientific discovery and exploration, because while I want that, I find that there's also something wrong with this. The injecting of things into these unfertilized spider eggs, um, the making them blind as well, it just messing with nature in a way that gives me the creeps. But we now have red glowing spider silk, so hey, I guess it makes it all right. The discovery of a skull on a beach has been linked to a 19th century shipwreck. This skull was researched by college students. They got a hold of it and they helped identify the skull, bone fragments of it, to Captain Henry Goodsell. This is a mystery been going on since 1995 when the skull washed onto a beach in Longport, New Jersey. And they started to study it, trying to figure out whose head is it? Well, now we know. And they had, a few years later, additional bone fragments discovered less than 2 miles away on the shore in southern New Jersey, in the town of Margate. 14 years after the skull was found, even more skeletal remains arrived on a beach another 5 miles away in Ocean City. But throughout all that time, no identity put to this. The bone fragments, they started calling it Scattered Man John Doe. But now, 30 years later, we have the mystery solved because of genetic testing, historical research, and archival analysis. So it turns out Scattered Man John Doe wasn't a victim of foul play, and he didn't even die recently. The bones belong to a 29-year-old merchant ship captain who died along with his crew in a storm in the winter of 1844. This captain's name is Henry Goodsell. They know this because finally law enforcement, looking into Scattered Man John Doe, reached out to Ramapo College of New Jersey's Investigative Genetic Genealogy Center. They sent the bone samples to Intermountain Forensics, which is a nonprofit that identifies missing person remains. And then their undergraduate students started cross-referencing archival files in the hope of finding a lead. The genetic analysis results traced ancestry as far back as the 1600s. They also started investigating newspaper reports of any shipwrecks off the coast of New Jersey, and eventually they found two articles from December of 1844. The schooner Oriental, it was called, was lost on the evening of the 4th on Brigantine Shoals and all hands with her. This in the York Democratic Press. According to the account in this newspaper, the ship left Bridgeport, Connecticut for Philadelphia, carrying 60 tons of marble intended for Girard College. They say it was possible that the crew just took off with it. Maybe this crew took off or the vessel was abandoned. But 4 days later, the worst case outcome was confirmed that this was an ill fated vessel, and they decided that all aboard must have perished. That from the Boston Daily Bee the day before Christmas in 1844. They think the Oriental sprung a leak and then sank about a mile away from shore. And then an intense storm prevented any rescue attempts from being made. There were 5 people aboard, including Captain Goodsell, and all of them they think drowned. One sailor was thrown on shore 5 miles away. Authorities identified him as John Keith before seeing that he was decently buried. Captain Goodsell left behind a wife and 3 children. So the students at the college then dug deeper into the family tree, and they say he warranted a closer look from the New Jersey State Police. So authorities collected a DNA reference sample from one of Goodsell's great-grandchildren, and a month later, they confirmed Scattered Man Joe was the late Captain Goodsell. The police say the ability to bring answers to families, even generations later, shows how far science and dedication can take us. It's one of the oldest cold case files ever solved using advanced type of investigative genealogy. Isn't that crazy? From 1844, they tracked him down and they figured it out. Such a great story. What about this story? This is a story. Oh, was I not? Could you not hear me that whole time? There's another one. See what happens when I come back? Yeah, there we go. Okay, let's talk about the cosmics. Remember we talked about cosmics before? Looks like this experiment went south. Pretty fascinating. The it was an effort. It was an attempt. There were 5 test locations for Cosmic's beverage store. It was kind of this McDonald's effort to have a cafe, a Starbucksy kind of place, right? It was a beverage-focused concept. They had 4 restaurants in Texas. They had 1 in a suburb of Chicago, and they were trying to see if this was gonna work. They had specialty beverages, and they were thinking that they would add some of these drinks and maybe this cafe to other McDonald's restaurants around the country. 13,637 regular restaurants that they have. But it's not to be. Nope. Starting in late June, McDonald's is closing all standalone pilot Cosmics on a rolling basis. They're discontinuing the Cosmics app. That's it for the Cosmics. The test stores included food, but not McDonald's signature food like the Big Mac and the Quarter Pounder, different kinds of food. The plan was to test their new drink options and create this launch pad for the McDonald's system. And they say the insights they gathered gave them a whole new way to get closer to their fans. That building on the insights gained from these pilot standalone locations, Cosmic's inspired flavors will be landing at McDonald's as part of their upcoming US beverage tests. So it seems like they'll be bringing some of the drinks or the flavors, but the Cosmics as far as a standalone restaurant, yeah, they're not doing that. They had designed the Cosmics to compete with the drive-through beverage categories like Dutch Bros, Scooters, Starbucks, and something called Swig, which must be in a different part of the country. Taco Bell, they say, is accelerating its in-restaurant drink initiative as well. The Cosmics had things like espressos, they call them expressos with an EX, frappes, cold brews, slushies, and lattes, lemon and blackberry mint green tea, these types of things. So maybe those will come to McDonald's, the regular McDonald's restaurant, but the Cosmics, yeah, that's going to be a no-go. All right, here is another news story that I wanted to bring to you. And I'm a little icked out by this one. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. Let me get this Cosmics picture down. This is a story about mayflies, the inundation of mayflies. Check it out.
That is not dirt, and it's not dust. Oh, those are dead mayflies. My skin's crawling right now. Well, the insects are on the way, too. But even though they don't, well, they create some serious safety concerns.
Yeah, not fun to look at. The swarm is getting ready to hit the lakeshore communities. Oh. There they are.
Yeah, everywhere at 5, Stephen Hernandez found that one city is taking a different approach to keep these things at bay.
Blake Wellman had to take some extraordinary measures last year to deal with a whole army of mayflies.
At this time last year, we couldn't even step on the sidewalks. Literally, the sidewalks were covered. You were crunching, crunch.
For him and hundreds of others in Port Clinton, getting ready for yearly pest is more of a tradition. First Energy is now gearing up to do their part by turning off streetlights.
It just causes nothing but mayhem throughout the whole town if they don't get the lights turned off in time.
First Energy explains the streetlight shutdown is due to a matter of safety, because believe it or not, these harmless little bugs can make for a dangerous experience behind the wheel.
Their carcasses are oily and they can make roads slick.
Wellman and others have seen what can happen firsthand.
I did not personally slip, but I have seen people out here like, whoa, and stuff like that.
Yeah, you can go right through stop signs and stuff if you're not careful. That's why we usually turn the lights off.
The cities of Port Clinton, Marblehead, and Erie Township are participating in the program. The streetlights will go dark after Memorial Day weekend and stay that way until the mayfly hatching season is done. If you plan to drive at night this summer, First Energy is asking you to move with caution.
Be on the lookout for walkers, bikers, people that are pedestrians should be wearing bright clothing and lights on their bikes.
But for those who live here, the trade-off is well worth it.
If you live here, it's one of those things. It's like it's going to be here every year, so just be prepared for it.
In Port Clinton, Stephen Hernandez, 19 News.
Ew, oily carcasses crunching under your feet. So gross. But I think it wasn't worth it to get demonetized to watch that. I scrolled back in the chat. You guys were like, "Where's Kim? We can't hear you. We can't hear you." I love this from Sandy. Kim, I know you hate all caps, but we're trying to get your attention. The sound is off. I'm so sorry, you guys. I think you missed the which story did I miss telling you about? I think it was the spider? I think you got the spider, didn't you? I don't know which one. I'm sorry. I don't know which one you missed. Fail. Kim fail yet again. I'm telling you. All right, we'll move on. Hopefully you can hear me now. Hi. I'm so sorry. All right, we'll move on because we've done the mayflies and now we have a story about darkening oceans, which I think is kind of interesting. That the planet's darkening oceans are posing a threat to marine life. There's a band of water where marine life can survive, and it has reduced in more than a fifth of global ocean between 2003 and 2022. So the oceans are getting darker, and that affects life in our oceans. The last 2 decades, we've seen oceans get darker, and scientists are afraid that this is going to have a big impact on marine life around the world. They know this because they've used satellite data and numerical modeling, which, according to research, has revealed that a fifth of the global ocean darkened between 2003 and 2022, and it affects this band of water where life reliant on sunlight and moonlight can thrive. What's the effect? It's evident across 30 million square miles of ocean, equivalent to the landmass of Europe, Africa, China, and North America combined. It disturbs the upper layer of water where 90% of our marine life lives. The University of Plymouth, where the research has come out of, a marine conservationist named Dr. Thomas Davies, says these findings are really a cause for concern, with potentially severe implications for our marine ecosystems, global fisheries, our critical turnover of carbon nutrients in the ocean as well. The surface layers that allow sufficient light through for organisms to exploit. Sunlight can reach a kilometer beneath the waves. In practice, according to research, there is little light below 200 meters. But this upper band of water is where microscopic plant organisms like phytoplankton live. These organisms underpin virtually all of marine food webs and generate nearly half of the planet's oxygen. Many fish, marine mammals, and other creatures hunt, feed, and reproduce in the warmer waters as in this area as well. They call them photic zones, where the food is most abundant. So researchers used satellite data and created this algorithm used to measure light in seawater to calculate the depths of the photic zones around the world. And they say the darkening affected 21% of the global ocean in the 20 years before 2022. In 9% of the ocean, it led to photic zones being 50 meters shallower. In 2.6% of the ocean, zones were 100 meters shallower. The details of the study you'll be able to find in Global Change Biology is the name of the publication. The ocean darkens when light finds it harder to penetrate the water. And we know that we've seen it along coastlines where upwellings of cold, nutrient-rich water rise to the surface, and where rainfall sweeps nutrients and sediments from the land into the water as well, full of stuff light can't get through as well. The drivers for darkening so far offshore, though, are less clear. The scientists think that maybe it's global heating and changes in ocean currents that are involved in this. But the areas where there are major changes in ocean circulation or ocean warming driven by climate change seem to be darkening, such as the Southern Ocean and up through the Gulf Stream and past Greenland as well. So, something to put on your radar of all the things that you're concerned about in the world, right? I'm telling you. This story, I think this one's kind of cool. This is a guy who I'm calling him the Jaws swimmer because he did this swim that hasn't been done before. You could say, we've never seen anything like it. And you would be right. This guy swam. I'm going to show you a picture of him. He's a pretty good swimmer. He swam all the way around Martha's Vineyard. It's a 62-mile multi-day swim, and no one has ever swam completely around the island before. It seems weird. It seems like someone would have done that by now, but nobody has. But this guy did. And he did it to raise awareness of the plight of sharks in this area where Jaws was filmed. There he is. He looks happy while he's doing it too, right? He's a British South African endurance athlete, and he crossed the finish line of this 62-mile swim around Martha's Vineyard on Monday, and he becomes the first person to swim all the way around this island off the coast of Cape Cod. He's, again, 55 years old. His name is Lewis Pugh. And he started swimming multiple hours a day in this water on May 15th. It's 47 degrees Fahrenheit in this water. And again, he did it to raise awareness about the plight of sharks because he knew that this is where Jaws was filmed and the 50th anniversary of the release of Jaws is coming up. So it kind of all coincides with this. He said he wants to change public perceptions and encourage protections for sharks because he says they're at risk from human threats. And he said the film Jaws wrongly portrayed sharks as villains and cold-blooded killers. So right near where Jaws was filmed is where he ended his swim, right near the Edgartown Harbor Lighthouse on Martha's Vineyard. And the movie we know tells the story of this man-eating great white shark terrorizing this New England tourist town called Amity Island. He said, we've been fighting sharks for 50 years. Now we need to make peace with them. So it was a big swim. He had that last mile or so that he completed before hopping out yesterday. He swam for 24 hours over 12 days. His first stop in Edgartown, after greeting cheering fans on the beach as he completed this swim, was at an ice cream shop. He went for a salted caramel berry brownie ice cream. He says this was one of the most difficult endurance swims in his 40-year career. And he's swum near glaciers, including on Mount Everest and volcanoes, swum among hippos and crocodiles and polar bears. He was the first athlete to swim across the North Pole and complete a long-distance swim in every one of the world's oceans. He expected this one to be hard, though, because of the low water temperature and the distance and the fact that it was happening during the start of shark migration season. But he said it was the weather that was really the most challenging part of this whole thing. He said it's been a long journey, 12 days, cold water, constant wind, waves, and always thinking what may be beneath me. He said it's been a very big swim. When you swim for 12 days, you leave as one person and you come back as a different person with a new reflection on what you've been through. He entered the chilly waters wearing trunks, a cap, and goggles. But there was a nor'easter that dumped 7 inches of cold, pounding rain on parts of New England, flooding the streets on Martha's Vineyard as well. There were some days he could only swim for a half a mile before the wind and waves made it impossible for him to see even an arm's length in front of him. He said, "Should we go further out to sea? Should we go a little closer in? Meanwhile, you're fighting the currents." He has, though, been named a patron of oceans. He often swims to raise awareness for environmental causes, and insists that no swim is without a risk, but that drastic measures are needed to get messages across. And it's true, because we wouldn't be talking about the need to make friends with sharks unless he had done this stunt. He said, "The decimation of sharks is an ecocide." That's a word I hadn't heard before, an ecocide. He said he thinks protecting sharks is the most important part of the jigsaw puzzle of protecting oceans. So Jaws was released in the summer of 1975, and the folks that made the movie, Steven Spielberg, the director, and the author, Peter Benchley, have both expressed regret that so many people became afraid of sharks. I don't know how, when you're making that movie, that you don't know that's going to happen. I mean, just the theme music, you know exactly what's going to happen. Anyway, so that's pretty good. A pretty good, pretty amazing swim and an amazing feat that he has managed to pull off there. And again, now we're all talking about sharks. All right, I have another story for you that I want to show you, and this one is a story about this man, this Norwegian man, who was asleep when all of a sudden a container ship ran aground and ran right into his yard. Now, this guy lives on the coast, and so his yard is right on the ocean. So in that sense, you know, you can see. In that sense, you know, maybe you shouldn't be too surprised, but it was pretty surprising. Hadn't had this happen before. Here's a little video. Oops. Sorry. I don't know if CNN's going to let me play it. Nope, they're not. Yeah. Well, you saw the picture there. Pretty interesting. Oops. This guy, he said, "I woke up." I have a video. I'll have a different video. Here it is. I have to show you the video because it's too, like, whoa, not to see it. Here it is.
Okay, you haven't seen them yet.
I haven't seen them yet, no.
Take a look at this. It's a man in Norway who woke up to find a cargo ship in his backyard. That's quite close, isn't it? 135-meter long vessel. It ran aground off Bindset. I'm not sure if I've said that right. Anyway, it ended up just a few meters from where Johan Helber was sleeping. Well, despite the size of it, he didn't actually hear it come ashore, and instead he had to be woken up by a neighbor.
The doorbell rang at a time when I don't really like opening the door. I like to go back to sleep, but it was a very insistent ring, so I finally went to answer it. And there's a guy I know standing there, looking at me in amazement, saying, "Have you not seen the ship?" But I hadn't, so I went to the window.
Yeah, and there's a ship right in the backyard. Crazy. Right in the vegetable patch. Amazing. You know, anything can happen in Norway. This is what happens. So this this ship runs aground in his backyard, hit a rocky outcrop right next to the garden. If it hadn't hit the rocks, apparently it would have lifted up the house and would have hit the house really hard. This man woke up just a few minutes earlier to the sound of the boat. The neighbor ran outside, attempted to sound the alarm, couldn't believe his neighbor, pardon me, had slept through this whole thing. He said he rang the doorbell many times and nothing. It was only when he called him on the phone that he managed to contact them. They're still not exactly sure what caused this incident, and they're waiting for the authorities to tell them why this boat ran aground like this. Nobody hurt. No one on the ship, no one on the land either. But they think perhaps according to local police, and an initial investigation that the officer responsible for steering the ship may have fallen asleep at the wheel. Asleep at the post. Yeah. Somebody did something wrong. Crazy. There is a newly identified creature. Now, it's not a new creature, but it is a newly identified creature, and it is being called a beast. It's a prehistoric creature found in Canada, and check it out. It's another, I've never seen anything like it before, right? It's called a prehistoric beast. I have a picture to show you. Kind of black and white stripy, a little cool looking. Now here's what it looks like. I don't know if it was friendly or not. Kind of looks like a penguin with an elongated neck in a way. This newly identified creature is being put into the genus Elasmosaurus sea monster that existed tens of millions of years ago, according to a study published today in the Journal of Systematic Paleontology. This group of Canadian fossils being identified as this creature, elasmosaurs, large sea creatures with extremely long necks and viper-like heads with large jaws and very sharp long teeth for capturing, crushing, and consuming prey. The primitive and derived traits that differ from the elasmosaurs that existed some 85 million years ago have been combined apparently into this, what they think is this creature. Both the elasmosaur and something called the Trascosaura are type of plesiosaurs, which were marine reptiles existing during the late Triassic period, from about 215 million years ago to the late Cretaceous, about 66 million years ago. These plesiosaur fossils have been known for decades around British Columbia, but the identity of the animal that left the fossil remained a mystery. The research study published today solves the mystery of the fossil's origins. They say the shoulder is unlike any other plesiosaur, that the Pacific Northwest finally has a Mesozoic reptile to call its own. It's interesting. Their necks grew nearly 40 feet in length. Their bodies resembled that of a small whale with forward flippers that propelled them through the water. Its bone structure suggests that it was easily adept at downward swimming and diving on its prey from up above. Its teeth well suited for devouring ammonites by crushing their shells as well. So interesting. These fossils were first discovered in 2002 and rose in prominence as an emblem of British Columbia, as one of their, the fossils of British Columbia. These fossils are on display at the Courtenay and the District Museum and Paleontology Center in Courtenay, British Columbia. Interesting looking beast, as they call it. Definitely not friendly. Nope. You ever wonder, after watching movies, space movies, what it is that we are blasting out into space? What is happening with sounds as we search for other signs of life? And I saw this story and I thought it was interesting what we're playing. Here's a picture of a satellite for you. And we're blasting out Johann Strauss, the Blue Danube. We're firing that off into space, the most famous of all waltzes. We're doing it later this month. And we're live streaming with free public screenings as well across Europe. Stream could probably be seen anywhere. There is this piece of classical music being pumped into space to celebrate the 200th anniversary of the birth of its composer and the 50th year of the European Space Agency. So the Blue Danube by Johann Strauss is going to be beamed out into space as it's performed by the Vienna Symphony Orchestra on May 31st. And the whole thing will be live streamed with free public screenings in Vienna, Madrid, and New York. They are hoping to avoid any technical issues, and they have a pre-recorded version from the orchestra's rehearsal that they'll record the day before that they're going to play, but the live performance will provide an accompaniment for people as well. We heard this music in Stanley Kubrick's 1968 movie 2001: A Space Odyssey. The music will pass the moon in just 1.5 seconds. The start will be from the European Space Agency's Big Antenna Dish in Spain, which is part of their network. It'll pass Mars in 4.5 minutes, Jupiter in 37 minutes, and it will go past Neptune 4 hours later. So if there's any creatures on Neptune, they'll hear it. If all goes to plan, NASA's Voyager 1, the world's most distant spacecraft, will be reached within 23 hours when the signals will be more than 15 billion miles in interstellar space. The tourism officials in Vienna, which is where Strauss hails from, said broadcasting the most famous of all waltzes into space corrects the cosmic mistake of his music being left out of previous interstellar broadcasts. 50 years ago, when the Voyager golden records were played out on these copper-plated phonograph records that were installed in NASA's Voyagers 1 and 2, that wasn't on it. The records have sounds and images of Earth and 90 minutes of music. The committee that chose the music picked Bach, Beethoven, Mozart, and Stravinsky, and some modern and indigenous selections as well, but Strauss was not among those broadcasts. So, in 2008, NASA transmitted the Beatles across the universe into deep space. Last year, they beamed up Missy Elliott's The Rain, Supa Dupa Fly, toward Venus, and now we get Johann Strauss. So, in a grand way, too. What a way to do it. That's pretty cool. I wanted to show you this Cybertruck. A black police Cybertruck. More and more police agencies are using these vehicles now. There's one. It's all souped up with police gear all over it. And we know that this is the vehicle that is going to be patrolling World Cup matches in Mexico. And there's a growing number of law enforcement agencies and departments that have added Cybertrucks to their fleets. You ever kind of get the ew when you see one of these in the wild? I saw one a couple days ago. These Cybertrucks maybe didn't sell so well in the general public, but the law enforcement agencies do seem to be liking them. We even saw that in the Middle East, right? With the parade in Qatar. Well, this jet black militarized Cybertruck is among the vehicles that will respond to potential incidents during the 2026 World Cup matches taking place in Jalisco, Mexico. Several Cybertrucks are among the 300 new tactical armored vehicles that they are adding to their fleet. It's part of an effort to revamp the state's police force in preparation for this event and the influx of tourists that will be visiting the capital, Guadalajara, of Jalisco, in the state of Mexico, the Jalisco area, for World Cup matches next year. That US and Canadian cities are also hosting some of the matches, but the Cybertrucks will reportedly be used primarily for surveillance and emergency response efforts, and they do represent just a small portion of the new vehicles being added to the police force ahead of these tournaments. The Cybertruck will patrol densely populated tourist areas and collect data on potential criminal activity. It'll be used to support investigations, assist in intelligence operations involving drones. Earlier this week, the police parked one of these cyber trucks with red and blue flashing lights underneath it in front of the Guadalajara Cathedral as part of a public display. I have video that I want to show you. Here it is. Here's what it looks like in action. I have to take the picture down in order to show this to you. Okay. So here's what the folks are going to see. The Cybertruck.
Con bombo y platillo presentaron la primer camioneta Cybertruck en el primer cuadro de la ciudad que será utilizada por elementos de policía.
I have to take that down. You can see what it looks like. So the red and blue lights are down below, not on top. It looks pretty menacing. I don't think I'd try to outrun it. Although these Cybertrucks that are supposed to be so tough are felled by rain. They've been recalled. There's a bunch of different things that can go wrong. Maybe not as tough as advertised, but again, the police agencies seem to be digging it. So there it is. Policía Estatal drones. Drones? Yeah, maybe there's some drones in the back they can launch from there. But that's what the World Cup attendees have to look forward to. The drones coming their way. Here's a picture of the truck again. Yeah. All right. Well, that's what we've got. So I don't know if you missed the spider story or not, but I'm telling you, if you can go read about that, it's what they've done with the CRISPR technology with these spiders is pretty fascinating. And that is the After Party Live on Tuesday. Thank you guys for being here and for all of your patience with my we missed the orb story. Oh, the orb story. Ooh, that was a good one too. I'm so sorry. Maybe I'll have to redo it tomorrow. The one ugly vehicle. It is. I'm so embarrassed. There's this street in Petaluma that's really, really busy. And a Cybertruck was turning and Julia and I were in the car and I went, ew, it's a Cybertruck. And the traffic had stopped and they kind of rolled to a stop right next to me and the windows were closed, but I think they could tell that I was dissing their car. And they kind of gave me the look and I was kind of embarrassed, but it's this reaction. I don't know where the reaction comes from. It must be a Muskian thing that I have. I don't know. Mama says, when is this happening? Summer is the rainy season in Jalisco. Yeah, it seems like it's soon. They said that matches in 2026. So maybe several months. I don't know. I'm not sure. Phineas says the tires aren't bulletproof and it certainly isn't Molotov cocktail proof. Goodness, I hope no one would do that to the police, but I don't know. Regarding the beaming things into outer space, teacher Lori says the Very Large Array Space Telescope in New Mexico is super interesting. A group of movable on tracks radio telescopes. It's so cool near White Sands, which she says is also pretty cool. Yeah. Wes talking about Polk County has black Dodge Chargers with the windows tinted and the lights in the bottom like that. Well, we have new CHP vehicles in California as well, where the lights are inside, not sticking up on top, and the colors are not the black and white anymore. So it's going to be a little more difficult for people to see the police coming, right? Trevor says it's the stupidest, ugliest car ever made, and it makes me want an AMC Pacer. Oh no. More money for Elon. Yeah, sadly. Gillette says my neighbor in Bodega Bay has one along with 4 Tesla cars. Took my mom to the Bodega Bay Lodge, Gillette. I should have let you know so you could come say hello. That was really fun. We stayed overnight there and it was a group of us and had dinner at the restaurant and then hung out at the spa the next day. They have this hot tub overlooking the ocean, which is beautiful. It's like an infinity hot tub and a pool. My mom got a massage in the spa area next door. So it's really nice 80th birthday for her. And that's where I was on Friday. And thank you for your patience with that, by the way. I appreciate it. All right. Love your comments. Love the way that you guys participate in the show. The orb story, I'll have to bring back because I know you saw the video. Maybe I don't need to redo it because you kind of saw what was happening there on the screen. But a little bit of a recap there. This orb was seen in the skies in Colombia, and scientists collected it, and they've been looking at it, and they've been X-raying it to see what was inside of this orb. And they say that there are no seams on it. There's no rivets. There's no like places on the outside of this decorated and carved orb where you look at it and you would go, oh, looks like this is where the seam was, or how it's constructed, or where people put it together. That they X-rayed it and they saw that there's 3 separate layers inside. They're still looking at it. They don't know the origin. They're not sure what it's made out of. So this is all ongoing. And I just thought that story was interesting. And I'm so sorry that you guys couldn't hear all the things that I was saying. I probably went on for too long about it anyway. So maybe it was good I took myself away. I don't know. All right. Yeah. It was a wonderful 80th. Thank you, Jane. Oh, I think my mom had a good one. You know, you want to make the big milestone birthdays special. So that's why we did that. Where did you take your mom? Yeah, it was the Bodega Bay Lodge in Bodega Bay. Really nice place. Delette, next time. I don't know if you could tell, I got a really bad sunburn sitting out there in the pool. You know, that's the way it goes sometimes. All right. You want to hear more about the orb? Okay, maybe we'll do more about the orb. Absolutely. Okay, thank you guys for hanging out with me and for being here. Tomorrow on the Mark Thompson Show, John Rothman will be on the show. Belinda Weymouth is traveling, but we'll get some environmental news for you in the show as well. And then tomorrow here on the After Party Live, we're going to do some waterfalls. We didn't travel today, but tomorrow we'll do some waterfalls and we'll have some relaxation, and it's going to be great. So I hope that you'll join me tomorrow on both the Mark Thompson Show and here on the After Party Live. But until we meet again, please make it a great rest of your Tuesday, and I'll see you right back here on the YouTube tomorrow. Bye-bye.
The After Party Live would like to thank the following contributors and viewers like you.
I'll check it out.